guns are quiet now. The papers of peace have been signed. And the oceans of the earth are filled with ships coming home. In faraway places, men dreamed of this moment. But for some men, the moment is very different from the dream. Here is human salvage, the final result of all that metal and fire can do to violate mortal flesh. Some wear the badges of their pain, the crutches, the bandages, the splints. Others show no outward signs, yet they too are wounded. This hospital is one of the many for the care and treatment of the psychoneurotic soldier. These are the casualties of the spirit, the troubled in mind, men who are damaged emotionally. Born and bred in peace, educated to hate war, they were overnight plunged into sudden and terrible situations. Every man has his breaking point, and these, in the fulfillment of their duties as soldiers, were forced beyond the limit of human endurance.
At ease, man. On behalf of the commanding officer and his staff of Mason General Hospital, I want to extend a hearty welcome to all of you on your return to the United States. There's no need to be alarmed at the presence of these cameras, as they're making a photographic record of your progress at this hospital from the date of admission to the date of discharge.
Here are men who tremble, men who cannot sleep, men with pains that are nonetheless real because they are of mental origin, men who cannot remember, paralyzed men whose paralysis is dictated by the mind. However different the symptoms, these things they have in common: unceasing fear and apprehension, a sense of impending disaster, a feeling of hopelessness and utter isolation.
May I have your last name?
The psychiatrists listen to the stories of the men who tell them as best they can. The names and places are different. The circumstances are different. But through all the stories runs one thread: death and the fear of death.
And then after you got wounded, what happened? Same thing, only worse?
Seems like my nerves keep getting worse on.
They get worse.
These airplanes, they bombed. I got killed nearly from one.
You nearly got killed. Where were you at the time?
St. Louis, I believe. Somewhere.
Wow.
I don't remember.
And what were you doing when the planes came over?
I was in a hole.
You know where you are?
I think I'm in the States now. They told me I was coming back.
Right.
But they told me I was going to die.
No.
On the hospital, I wouldn't eat hardly.
No, you're
I
not.
was sick. And I wouldn't eat hardly. They told me I was going to die, but I didn't eat. Couldn't help it.
Well,
Told me, hey, care where I died. I'm not.
we will see that you don't die. You won't die.
I lost my last buddy up there, Little Norman. He was second scout, and I was first scout. And was all mixed up there. They were shelling us. And
Well, did that make you nervous?
I should have been first scout. I'm first scout, and I should have been out in front. And he went out, and I started to go out after him, and he got shot. And he just said, "Oh, Dutch, I'm hit," and he crawled to my feet, and I started calling for the medic, and I went back to see if we could get the medic, and there wasn't any, and I started to go out after him again, and they wouldn't let me go. And he was the last one of the original boys that was with me. Him and I were the last two left out of the original.
And when you were shelled, how did you feel?
I don't know. It's just after Norman got hurt, killed. Why? I was all right when we were moving up or attacked and anything like that. When we get pinned down, I start thinking about him laying back there.
And then what happened to you when you think about him? How would you feel?
I just didn't care what happened to me.
You mean you didn't want to go back into combat again?
Yes, sir. I wanted to go back. I wanted to stay there. I wanted to keep on for him and all them other guys, John and Stryker and Tex and Pop.
And how do you feel right now?
I feel all right.
How have you been getting along?
Well, fairly well, sir.
You overseas?
Yes, sir.
Where?
We were in France, and then we went to Germany.
In where?
France to Germany.
And what outfit were you with?
I was with Headquarters Detachment, 50th Quartermaster Battalion, Mobile.
I see your PFC.
At present, sir.
You had to go in the hospital.
Sir?
You had to go in the hospital.
Twice, sir.
It says here on your record from overseas that you had headaches and that you had crying spells.
Yes, sir. I believe in your profession is called nostalgia.
In other words, homesickness.
Yes, sir. It was induced when, shortly before the war, I received a picture of my sweetheart.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't continue.
That's all right.
Yes, sir.
Come on, sit down a minute. Now, a display of emotion is all right.
I'm not doing this deliberately, so
Of course
please
you're
believe me.
not. I do believe you. A display of emotion is sometimes very helpful.
I hope so, sir.
Sure, it gets it off your chest. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have been returned. There was a patient. If there wasn't something upsetting you.
Yes, sir.
Well, now,
Sorry.
you say you had received a letter from your,
Not a letter, sir, a photograph.
a photograph, yes. Well, what about that now?
Well, sir, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm very much in love with my sweetheart. She has been the one person that gave me a sense of importance, and that through her cooperation with me, we were able to surmount so many obstacles.
What happened? Well, when I was in combat, can you speak louder? I have trouble hearing you. During the time, I got worried that my brother, he was killed in Guadalcanal.
Oh, was he a Marine?
Yes.
Now, I noticed in this history here that you saw a vision of your brother. Tell me something about that. What happened?
Oh, I guess it was a dream.
Well, describe the dream. What did you see in the dream?
I dreamt that I was home, my brother was home, and my other brother was home. We all were home.
All of you were home.
Sitting around the table. Everybody was happy. We were laughing, talking, just admiring each other's. And then it ended there.
You could see these images clearly.
Yeah,
They
it was
were-
like in a dream, see.
Yeah. What about this Mindanao thing you're telling me about?
Well, in Mindanao, after I got that news, I was scared.
You were scared.
I don't know, sometimes I hope something what happened then again, I say, well, something did
What
happen.
do you mean by something happened? You mean you were hoping that you'd be wounded and sent back? Is that what you mean?
No.
Or what do you mean by that?
I meant that I hoped that just, you know, I was so disgusted and tired of everything. I just didn't feel like living. And then I changed my mind and I think about my folks, and it'd be a double blow if something happened to me. And I'd be staring at God sitting on a machine gun there, just watching. And I'd hear a little noise and I'd let go, shoot. It wasn't nothing, probably was an animal or something.
Any noise made you upset and you just shoot?
At that time, yes.
Do you feel worried about anything now?
I don't know.
Are you mixed up?
Kind of.
What's that pin on your shirt there?
My heart.
Well, why do you cover those up? Aren't you proud of them?
Yes, sir.
You got a Purple Heart? And campaign ribbons?
Yes, sir.
Well, why do you cover them up? Now, there must be some reason for you doing that. Well, what happened over there?
Well, we got in the scrape and I was in the house there. Just got off of guard duty and it's Friday the 13th and we were sweating it out all day. And patrol came up, and German patrol, and they shot a Panzer Faust through the wall.
And what?
I was laying on the couch, and right before it happened, I felt a little jittery, so I laid down on the floor. And when I got up again, the couch was all torn.
In other words, you were almost killed, is that it?
Most of gone right over my head.
Do you feel conscious? Are you aware of the fact that you are not the same boy that you were when you went over? Do you feel changed?
Yes.
In what way?
More jumpy.
How about with people?
I used to always like to have fun. I used to always be going places. I don't like to do nothing no more.
How long were you overseas?
A lot of months.
11 months. Were you in any combat at all?
This is 6 months.
I tried every way to keep my mind occupied, reading, going to the gymnasium, going out with the fellows and trying to become an extrovert, trying to get out of myself. But it seemed to me that I got worse and worse. And after a while, I developed, after the fear of insanity, I started developing fears of different sorts.
Did you ever have similar pains before you got
Never
married?
in my life.
Have you ever been nervous before in your
No,
life?
sir. Never. I was a solid man.
Do sudden noises bother you particularly?
I could just shake over a little, but not that bad.
Well, I guess I just got tired of living, you can put it that way. I had trouble sleeping, yes. Had dreaming of combat, you know.
I just took off because I see too many of my buddies gone, and I figured the next one was for me. A man can just stand so much up there, see?
Admission note, transfer diagnosis, anxiety reaction, severe. Active symptoms, in remission.
On this, their first night back in the States, each man who is able may make a long-distance call without cost. After months and years of silence, familiar voices are heard once again. Then each man makes for himself a small home, which will be his for the 8 or 10 weeks to come. now in the darkness of the ward emerge the shapes born of darkness, the terror of things half remembered, dreams of battle, the torments of uncertainty and fear and loneliness. The day begins with an early morning ward inspection. The medical officer in charge checks the condition of every man. Modern psychiatry makes no sharp division between the mind and the body. Physical ills often have psychic causes, just as emotional ills may have a physical basis. Possibilities of organic disturbance in the brain are investigated by means of the electroencephalograph. The Rorschach test, the things that the patient's imagination sees in these cards, give significant clues to his personality makeup.
This looks sort of like a drawing of two women standing on a rock and waving their hands.
This man suffering from a conversion hysteria requires immediate treatment. Organically sound, his paralysis is as real as if it were caused by a spinal lesion, but it is purely psychological.
Well, just sit him up about the middle of the bed there.
Feel pretty good, huh?
That's fine. Now sit yourself over there. Well, now, can you move over just a little so I can talk to you?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is the trouble? You seem to be... What's that?
That's nerves, I guess. They make me flinch like that.
I say, how long has that been going on?
Since Friday.
Friday
night.
Come on suddenly or gradually?
Suddenly, sir.
How?
Well, I started in the afternoon with crying spells.
Mm-hmm.
And felt something funny in my shoulders here. Back bothered me. I started crying. I wasn't controlling my legs and my arms.
Was there any reason for crying spells?
I don't know, sir.
Anything happen at home to bother you?
Well, my mother's been ill.
She has been ill.
That's right.
That worry you a lot?
Quite a bit.
Well, now, has this got anything to do with your mother's illness? Any reason why you should have that kind of reaction?
No, sir, not that I know of. Unless my mother's illness might have brought this on. I tried to hold it while it hurts, but...
I see. You've just been holding these things in.
That's right, sir.
No way you can control this at all?
No, sir.
Well, now we're going to have to help you do that, of course. Let's take off this jacket here. Just slip that off. All right, now lie down on the bed.
My shoes.
Right, now we'll leave the shoes on so you can walk in them. I think we're going to get you walking. Let's come over here. That's the boy. That's fine. That's good. Now you lie steady. Lie steady. That's the boy. This is all going to go away as I give you this medicine. No bother at all.
The method employed here is effective in certain types of acute cases. An intravenous injection of sodium amytal induces a state similar to hypnosis.
What a torpedo that is. You mind if I look this way?
You look that way. There's nothing for you to watch here, but you're going to talk to me as we go along.
Yes, sir.
That's all. Now, you're not going to feel much of anything else. You're going to feel a little bit woozy.
The use of this drug serves a twofold purpose. Like hypnosis, it is a shortcut to the unconscious mind. As a surgeon probes for a bullet, the psychiatrist explores the submerged regions of the mind, attempting to locate and bring to the surface the emotional conflict which is the cause of the patient's distress. The second purpose of this drug is to remove, through suggestion, those symptoms which impede the patient's recovery.
Now, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking of. The thoughts are coming to your mind now.
Nothing in particular.
Well, now let's go back. Let's go back to Friday.
Friday?
Yeah, think about that.
Friday. My mother argues with me.
Your mother argues with you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What does she argue about?
Well, every little thing, if you sit down in a long chair or something like that. Doesn't like the stuff you get in the store.
Uh-huh.
Then she calms down.
Well, see, have you always tried to please her?
Yes.
Always tried to please her.
I used to clean her house for her when I was smaller.
Well, now, why do you think she argues like that?
Well,
Because she's sick?
Well, she doesn't try to control her temper.
I see. Mm-hmm. How about your father?
He's a swell guy.
He's a swell fellow, isn't he?
Gets kind of hot-tempered. Since my mother's been sick, it's been costing a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
And he's lost a lot of weight about worrying.
I see.
My mother argues with him. She wants to know where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care about that as long as everything turns out all right.
Well, now, this jumping, what does that make you think of? Think about it, man.
I can't help it. It just jumps.
Uh-huh. How about the legs? Do you know anybody who had any trouble with their legs like that?
No, sir.
And what does it make you think of? Go on.
Except several years ago, there was one fella. He had something wrong with his right leg. Water in the knee, but he's walking today. That hasn't bothered me.
Was that anything like your leg?
I don't know. He couldn't walk at all.
He couldn't walk at all?
No.
And what do you think of when you can't walk like that?
I wish I could walk.
Well, what do you think of? What comes to your mind when you find that you can't walk?
So maybe I think my mother and father should be okay. Sometimes I wonder, hope the war ends soon, or things like that. Nothing in particular.
Well, now the shakes are gone now, haven't they?
Yeah.
How about your legs? They're good and strong.
I feel all right.
Move them. Let's raise them.
Oh, I don't see them raising before, but I can't walk.
Well, how about them now?
They feel all right.
They feel good now, as if you can walk in them, don't they?
Toes feel numb.
Toes feel numb, but that's going away, isn't it?
Yeah. Gee.
So raising them fine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now you're going to be able to walk, aren't you?
I don't know.
Well, you're going to, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'll walk. I love walking.
You love walking.
I did.
Always been very fond of walking. Now you found yourself unable to walk. Now you're going to get right up and walk. Right now. All right, now let's sit up. Sit up on the side of the bed. Here you are. That's fine. All right, now stand up. And look at that. Isn't that good? All right, now walk out here. Walk over to the nurse all by yourself. That's the boy. Walk over to the nurse. You're just a little woozy. That's the medicine. Now come back to me. Come back to me. Open your eyes. That's the boy. Isn't that fine? Isn't that wonderful?
Sure.
All right, now again, once more.
Yeah, but how long will it be?
Oh, it's going to stay that way. It's going to stay because that's taking care of your worry now. All right, now come on back to me, and I'm going to let you go to sleep. When you wake up, you'll keep on walking perfectly well. How about it?
Thanks, sir.
Righto. All right, now let's get up in here and we'll go to sleep. Yeah, there you are. Now I'm going to have you go right to sleep. When you wake up, it'll be all right.
Thanks.
All right, sleep.
The fact that he can walk now does not mean that his neurosis has been cured. That will require time. But the way has been opened for the therapy to follow. Now a new way of living begins, very different from the old one whose purpose was killing and trying not to be killed. Now in an environment of peace and safety, all the violence behind them, they are building rather than destroying. Men have their choice of occupational therapy. Some find relaxation in mechanical jobs. Certain types of cases obtain relief in precision work, which answers their inner need for order and certainty. For sons and daughters and nieces and nephews and neighbors' kids, hobby horses are turned out by the carload. Physical reconditioning is not the only purpose in sports, which also serve to bring men out of their emotional isolation and back into group activity. One of the most important procedures is group psychotherapy. Here, under the psychiatrist's guidance, the patient learns to understand something of the basic causes of his distress. As one of a group, he also learns to understand that his inner conflicts are, with variations, common to all men.
And I think of it a little bit like this. We want to get you out of your own feeling of isolation, to get you to feel that you are like other people. In order to get to that, we have to use knowledge is one thing, and something else which has to be added, and that is an experience of safety. You could say it is almost the core of all our treatment methods. Development of knowledge of oneself with the accompanying safety that it brings. I'd like to see if we can get some illustrations of how one's personal safety would stem from childhood safety, and how the childhood safety itself would stem from the parents' safety.
In my illustration, as a child, whenever I underwent any experiences that were frightening to me, I never told my parents. I kept it to myself. While I was alone at night in my room, I'd call on God. If I had done anything wrong that I was ashamed of, I was ashamed to go to my parents and tell them what I had done. So I kept it to myself. And I used to be in constant fear that my parents would find out my feelings.
Well, I wonder if there's any of your mother's troubles that you would know about.
No, my mother never gave any of the children any part of her troubles.
Well, that would be the same thing that happened to you. She didn't tell her troubles, and you didn't tell yours. You took your troubles to God, and she probably did the same thing. Probably didn't even confide in your father. In other words, the kind of method that you used to get relief from anxiety was really, we'd have to assume, learned and felt right in your home, the same kind of thing.
I think it was all caused by economic conditions of the world. I mean, people trying to compete one another, trying to get a better job, trying to keep up with uprising of living, things like that have caused a lot of arguments in the home. Mother and father arguing about the price of the food, and that has a reflection on the children. Right. Things like that. So I think that was one of the causes of worse.
Not having enough food to eat, or the arguments between the mothers?
I mean, there was...
Well, which was the worst, though?
Well, I guess the arguments.
Sure, of course the arguments.
Because I can't remember about the food.
There you are. You can't even remember about the food or the lack of food.
I have in mind my own childhood. We're coming from a moderate family. Moderate in the sense that the family had some sense of security. What happened there was we were told that myself, my brothers and sisters, we couldn't just play with any of the kids we wanted to play with unless their parents in turn had the equivalent of what our parents had. And as a result, we were kept in a narrow circle, very, very narrow. However, I have found that there has been a strong yearning on my part to break out of this environment, to be able to play with Tom, Dick, and Harry.
I'd say the net result's like this. Your mother did not feel really so superior. She felt inferior when she tried to make you take the attitude you were better than the other children. So that now, in certain experiences in the Army, have brought that out more clearly, because you've been thrown in with Tom and Dick and Harry and need to get along with them. It's not necessary to be in the Army. It's not necessary to be in the war. These kind of troubles have always gone on in all time, through all the centuries. So you were going to say something?
I never spoke until I was 7.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. And I studied very bad. At 14 and 15, I couldn't recite in school. Today, I'm able to talk.
Can you explain how you get started to talk? How you began to get over that?
During the war, the first word I ever spoke, Santa Claus had brought me a war gun, and my brother broke it.
This is the First World War, yes?
And so,
Santa Claus brought the gun and your brother broke it.
Yeah, when I went in to get my gun, I just says, war, death. Somebody broke my gun. That was the first thing I said.
You were angry because someone broke your gun.
So that's where I started talking.
I would say all those symptoms, like being unable to speak, stuttering and so on, they have an underlying anger and resentment in the deeper parts of the personality. You could almost say it like this. Underneath I can't, you usually find I won't.
Captain, on Okinawa, I was stuttering too about 3 weeks. And as soon as I came here, I'm here a month now, I stopped stuttering.
You've stopped studying completely since you came here?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's good. I don't know whether that's a tribute to the doctors or a tribute to your fundamental health.
It's to my fundamental self.
Yeah. No tribute to the doctors at all. Very good.